On May 8, US Vice President JD Vance was giving an interview to Fox News journalist Martha McCullum. Martha asked him questions about US-UK deal, China and Russia. At one point she asked him, "Aren't you afraid that there could be a nuclear war between India and Pakistan? How concerned is the administration about the potential for nuclear war between India and Pakistan?" The US Vice President replied, "What we can do is try to encourage these folks to de-escalate a little bit, but we are not going to get involved in middle of the war. That's fundamentally none of our business." The US statement is very clear. This is a matter between India and Pakistan. We won't interfere. And this is very consistent with President Trump's foreign policy. He has said, unlike the previous US presidents, he won't interfere in other wars. Except 24 hours later, we find out that the situation is very different. America's National Security Advisor Marco Rubio is constantly on the phone with leaders of India and Pakistan. JD Vance calls PM Modi directly to de-escalate the situation. But why? On May 10, late at night, CNN published an article. Vance called Indian Prime Minister to encourage ceasefire talks after receiving alarming intelligence. What was the alarming intelligence that America received? Because of this, the US Vice President completely changed his mind. He said that his country had no business with this war. It's fundamentally none of our business. But in just 2 days, he called PM Modi directly to de-escalate the situation. What was this intelligence? We can get the answer to this question from what this man told two Italian physicists 23 years ago who were en route to Pakistan. This man is General Khalid Kidwai.
Kidwai also went to the extent of giving out 4 red lines for use of Pakistan's nuclear weapons. As we all know, their program is specific to India. So he said there is a space threshold. That means just in case of a war, India-Pakistan war, if the Indian military is able to capture a lot of territory and crosses that red line, then the nuclear factor comes in. The other, he spoke of military threshold. If the majority of Pakistan's nuclear conventional capabilities are destroyed in war, that's a threshold. Third, he said the economic strangling of Pakistan by India. And the fourth is domestic destabilization by India. So these are the red lines he gave.
But to understand this, we need to know what has happened since May
मुझे
7.
क्या बोलते भेलपुरी खाने से मेरा पति साइड में था एक इंसान आया उसने उसको गोली मार दी यहाँ पे उसने बोला कि ये शायद मुस्लिम नहीं है उसने उसको गोली मार दी नहीं 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 आप टेंशन मत लो अब बेटा आप यहाँ पे रहो हम साथ में मैडम ये जो भीड़ साहब है प्रेसिडेंट आप टेंशन मत लो मेरे पति का बच्चा लो हम बचा देगा कोई बात नहीं भैया तो करेंगे फोन दब से मन युवा डिजाइन किया है ठीक है हम बचा देंगे ना आप टेंशन मत लो मैं आ रहा हूँ मैं कहाँ पे आपका ये हस्बैंड क्या हुआ इसको क्या हुआ
Please ask for help. We don't need.
Okay, don't worry. You okay? You need a water, sir?
Sir, we'll manage. Just ask for help.
Okay, you first you give the hands water, drop of water, take a drop of water. हम आ रहे हैं आप टेंशन कोई बात नहीं हम हैं हम आ रहे हैं आप टेंशन मत लो मैडम
Almost 3 weeks have passed since the terrorist attack in Pahalgam, where 26 innocent people were killed. After this attack, everyone expected India to carry out a military operation. And that is exactly what happened. Between 1 and 1:30 a.m. of May 7th, India carried out an attack. At 1:44 a.m., the government released a press release that the Indian Armed Forces had launched Operation Sindoor. The Indian government said that they had targeted Pakistan's terrorist infrastructures. A total of 9 terrorist bases were targeted, and this attack was very significant because not only were the terrorist sites in Pakistan occupied Kashmir targeted, but those sites that are miles into Pakistan border were also targeted. These strikes clearly show that India's anti-terrorism policy has changed. Diplomacy alone won't work. India will target Pakistan's terrorist infrastructure. The Indian government said in its press release that they didn't target any military or civilian infrastructure but only terrorist infrastructure. Videos of these attacks are also released. At 10 a.m., an official press briefing of Operation Sindoor is held. This meeting is led by Colonel Sofia Qureshi, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, and National Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri. During the briefing, Colonel Sofia Qureshi said that all three Indian services, Army, Air Force, and Navy, conducted a 25-minute joint operation against the Pahalgam terrorist attack. Operation Sindoor was launched to bring justice to the innocent civilians and their families who were targeted in the April 22nd terror attack in Pahalgam. Wing Commander Vyomika Singh said that there are 21 terrorist camps in Pakistan occupied Kashmir from Sawai Nala to Bahawalpur. Over the last 3 decades, Pakistan has systematically built terror infrastructure. It is a complex web of recruitment and indoctrination centers, training areas of initial and refresher courses, and launch pads of handlers. Colonel Sofia Qureshi was an officer in the Indian Army's Corps of Signals. She made history when she became the first woman to lead the Indian Army's training team in 418, a multinational military exercise. Her family has served the Indian Armed Forces for many years. Wing Commander Vyomika Singh is a decorated helicopter pilot of the Indian Air Force. She was named Vyomika because it was her childhood dream to become a pilot. For several reasons, it's symbolic for these two officers to lead our press briefing. First, the name of this military operation was Operation Sindoor after the women who lost their husbands and fathers in this attack. Secondly, two senior women officers who belong to different religions were given the responsibility to show how different India is from Pakistan. In this briefing, it's revealed that the targets of Operation Sindoor were chosen based on intelligence reports. For example, Sawai Nala in Pakistan occupied Kashmir's Muzaffarpur city was attacked, which is a center of Lashkar-e-Taiba, where those terrorists were trained who were involved in 2014 Sonmarg and Gulmarg and the recent Pahalgam attack. In Muzaffarabad, Sayyidina Bilal was also attacked, which is the staging area of Jaish-e-Mohammed, where weapons are stored and jungle survival training is provided. In Pakistan, four sites were targeted where terror camps were located. For example, Murid Cage, Markaz Teba, where Ajmal Kasab and David Headley were trained for 26/11 Mumbai attack. You can see the image of this location before and after the attack. The data and forensic correspondent of Sky News, Tom Cesar, revealed an excellent investigation about this location. The Pakistani military says there are no terror camps in Pakistan, not even in Murid Ke. But what did Tom find? Before the strikes happened, videos were posted from the area by people supporting terrorists. He found that many TikTok videos were published from the same location in which people were supporting terrorist groups. Several videos were uploaded on TikTok using the hashtag 313. Multiple videos were posted by men using the hashtag 313, which is used for terrorist group Al Qaeda. Indian Air Force released visuals to show that this location was attacked 4 times by missile. Ajmal Kasab and David Headley were trained here. Another area that was attacked was Markaz Subhanallah in Bahawalpur, which is the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed, where recruitment, training, and indoctrination took place. Wing Commander Vyomika Singh says that all these sites were carefully selected so that the civilian and military infrastructure wouldn't be harmed. Remember that the words used in press briefing are carefully selected. Press briefings aren't decided by someone's mood. These things are cancelled, drafts are revised, and then a military decision and communication strategy are made. The Indian government and military chose this strategy because if India attacks Pakistan's military and civilian infrastructure, Pakistan will also get permission to do the same. They also clarified that if Pakistan tries to escalate this, Indian armed forces will retaliate. It's important to note what was reported across the border in Pakistan. Pakistan says that 8 civilians were killed and 35 were injured. Children were also among those killed. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif says that India must suffer the consequences of this. Pakistan's Lieutenant General Ahmad Sharif holds a press briefing. India carried out a cowardly attack on Pakistan and targeted innocent people. He says that India carried out 24 attacks on 6 different locations in Pakistan. Pakistan will retaliate against these attacks. Pakistan's minister says that Indian armed forces have intentionally targeted civilian areas. India has attacked civilian targets, including a mosque and residential accommodation on 5 locations in Pakistan. Dawn News, one of Pakistan's most popular news websites, says that in Bahawalpur, Subhan Mosque was targeted. Meanwhile, Pakistan's minister gives a strong statement. Let me make it very clear. There are no terrorist camps in Pakistan. Pakistan is a victim of terrorism. We are fighting the terrorists on our western borders. We are the frontline state against terrorism. But this time, Sky News journalist Yalda Hakim responds to his statement. Can I just point out to you? On my program, just a week ago, your Defense Minister Khwaja Asif admitted that Pakistan has for decades had a policy of funding, backing, and using terrorist groups as proxies in the country. In fact, in 2018, President Donald Trump cut military aid to Pakistan because he accused Pakistan of playing a double game. Hakim reminds him where Osama bin Laden was found. After India's Operation Sindoor, Pakistan's Air Force retaliates. Dawn's headlines reads, Pakistan gives a befitting reply to India's evil attack. Pakistan claims that during Operation Sindoor they downed 3 Rafale jets, one Su-30 and one MiG-29. Dawn News writes that the aircraft was reportedly destroyed and the pilot was killed. But they also said that this information cannot be verified independently. Not only India and Pakistan were interested in this Operation Sindoor, China is also interested. Just 3 hours after the operation, at 4 a.m., Chinese embassy officials arrived at the foreign ministry in Islamabad to check the data. Why? Because this is the first time that this Chinese jet is being used in real combat. And this data is very important for China. The Pakistani Defense Minister Khwaja Asif repeats the same line that they have killed 5 Indian jets and captured many pilots. But the Indian army denies this, and on CNN, the defense minister is asked a counter question. We start with this very specific allegation of 5 fighter jets shown down. Where is the evidence for that, sir? Do you know what the defense minister says after about the evidence? That it's written in the social media. It's all over the social media, on Indian social media, not on our social media. The Pakistani army then starts bombing the Rajouri and Poonch district of Jammu and the Kupwara and Baramulla areas of Kashmir. Many houses are destroyed. About 50 people are injured and 15 people lose their lives. An Indian soldier stationed near the LOC is also martyred. After this, PM Modi holds a cabinet meeting. In this meeting, PM Modi tells his cabinet about the operations. After a while, President Donald Trump says that he will try to help. If I can do anything to help, I will be there. At 4 a.m., there are reports that Pakistan is carrying out bombing near the LOC. The civilian areas of Karna are targeted. But since the civilians were moved the day before due to the circumstances, there are no casualties. But people in the border areas are scared of their lives. If we didn't know where the bombs came from, Where it landed, we only saw smoke. We didn't know where the bomb came from. Where it landed, we only saw smoke. News channels go nuts by this time. They say that Amritsar was being targeted by surface to air missiles, but it's not confirmed. On the other hand, G News says that India targeted Lahore. This is Gopalnagar, Nasirabad. There were some explosions here. People say there there were 2-3 explosions. At 8 a.m., 21 airports are shut down. The Indian government holds an all-party meeting on Operation Sindoor. Rajnath Singh and Amit Shah tell the opposition that the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Taiba, their training camp of Muridke and Bahawalpur headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed were targeted. The Hindu reports that Defense Minister Rajnath Singh mentioned in the meeting that at least 100 terrorists were killed. Ministry of Defense confirms that at night, Pakistan targeted Awantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Amritsar, Kapurthala, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Adhampur, Bhatinda, Chandigarh, Nal, Phalauri, Uttarnal, and Bhuj were drones and with drones and missiles, which were neutralized by integrated counter UAS grid and air defense system. Ministry of Defense confirms that they have neutralized Pakistan's air defense system in Lahore. Pakistan denies this. It says that India has sent more than 25 drones across the border and they will respond to this action. Undertaken yet another blatant military act of aggression against Pakistan by sending Harop drones at multiple locations. At 9 p.m., blackouts and sirens are heard in Jammu, Udhampur, Akhnur, and Pathankot. Pakistan has launched a coordinated serial assault. 300 to 400 Pakistani drones across the 300 to 400 Pakistani drones crossed the LOC to target India's 15 military installments. 300 to 400 Pakistani drones crossed the LOC to target India's 15 military installations. One drone hits Jammu airport, after which India deploys its advanced air defense system. The Guardian reports The Guardian reports that Pakistan has targeted an air base in Pathankot, Punjab. As the war escalates, Indian news channels lose credibility. G News reports that Islamabad has been seized. Lahore and Islamabad has been devastated. Pakistan has suffered heavy losses. ABP News reports that Indian Navy INS Vikrant has reached Lahore, a city not even close to the sea. News channels show plane crashes visuals from Philadelphia, USA, to show how INS Vikrant has destroyed the Karachi port. Aaj and other news channels began using sirens in their coverage. This is why the Ministry of Home Affairs shared a guideline to stop this nonsense on TV channels. People don't panic and get to know when the real sirens goes off. In Dharamsala, the match between Punjab Kings and Delhi Capitals is stopped. A technical failure in the floodlight is pointed out as the reason. Later, it's said that the true reason was kept under wraps so that people don't panic and evacuate safely. At 10:30 p.m., a phone call is made between Washington DC and New Delhi. On one side, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and on the other is External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. Marco Rubio says that India should de-escalate. Not just Marco Rubio, but many people in the India echo the same opinion. Ultimately, nobody benefits from a war. This is a chapter from Udyog Parv, which is the fifth book of Mahabharata. It discusses the efforts to prevent a war between Pandavas and the Kauravas. Lord Krishna goes to Hastinapur to talk to Dhritarashtra. He says, I I come here for peace. There should be no bloodshed between brothers. Give the Pandavas what is theirs. Fulfill your dharma. Lord Krishna says, I am give the Pandavas their give the Pandavas what's theirs. Fulfill their dharma. Fulfill your dharma. Lord Krishna says, I have not come here as a warrior, but as a mediator. He says, peace is possible. Just give them 5 villages and they will be happy. There is silence in the royal court, and at this very moment, Duryodhan gets up and insults Lord Krishna. I will not give them a speck of land. And at this very moment, Lord Krishna assumes that Vishnu avatar and says, I have come for peace. And when dharma is not followed, the ego becomes a rule. Then fighting a war becomes our dharma. When every method is adopted and even then things don't work out, then fighting a war remains the only option. This aligns with dharma, and this is our dharma. Lord Krishna says, this war is not for the land but for dharma. In English, all wars are avoidable, but some are inevitable. The main objective of India's military operation is to increase deterrence. What is deterrence? Every country calculates cost benefit for their foreign policy, and as I said in this video, Pakistan has also done a cost benefit analysis for this terrorism policy, and they concluded that the benefits of their terrorism policy are much higher than the cost. The benefits are that Pakistani military can dominate the Pakistan state and economy, and the cost is very low for them because both countries have nuclear weapons, so India won't be aggressive. After the terrorist attack in Pulwama, the Indian government tried to increase the cost when they attacked, but this time the Indian government increased the cost even more by conducting multiple attacks on Pakistan's territory. Now the question is, was the cost so high that Pakistan would give up its terrorism policy? Before answering this, let's go back to the story. Many high-level important meetings were conducted in Delhi. For example, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh meets the chiefs of the Indian Armed Forces, and a little further, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval meets Prime Minister Modi. The Ministry of Defense confirms that Pakistani drones targeted military stations in Jammu, Pathankot, and Udhampur. But these attacks were intercepted, so there were no casualties. Late at night, the Indian government suspends flight operations at 24 airports, and at 2 a.m., an infiltration attempt takes place in Jammu and Kashmir. Late night, in the Samba district of Jammu and Kashmir, the border security forces detected the movement of terrorist infiltration on a surveillance grid. Many armed many armed militants cross the border, but but are stopped by the border security forces. Gunfire. Meanwhile, 7 terrorists were killed. At the same time, US President JD Vance gives an interview to the Fox News. He clarifies that America's position, what we can do is encourage these folks to de-escalate a little bit. But we are not going to get involved in middle of a war. That is fundamentally none of our business. The next day at 8 a.m., Indian Army releases its statement and it has given a befitting reply. In fact, Pakistani armed forces launched multiple attacks using drones. The army has had reacted to Pakistan's escalation. That the army has confirmed that the drone attacks were effectively repulsed. Video clips of Indian airstrikes are shared. The war is not only happening on land but also on the internet because there is misinformation everywhere. Every image and video needs to be fact checked because during a war this information changes the public's perception. This is why there are FIRs against some people spreading fake news on social media. At 10 a.m., sirens are heard in Chandigarh because an Air Force station is suspected to be a target on attack. People are told to stay inside their homes and not come to the balcony. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Defense gives clear instructions to the Indian news channels that they shouldn't do any live coverage or real-time reporting of defense operations. The logic is clear, but this logic doesn't reach the news channels because they are lost to their own tune. The news channels report that the capital of Pakistan, Islamabad, has been captured. Every big city in Pakistan is being targeted and they are taking actions strategically. The news channels clearly shows that the Indian journalists are not journalists, they are entertainers. The investigation in Muridke wasn't carried out by the Indian journalist but by a British one. This is Muridke in Pakistan, home to the Markaz Teba Mosque. India struck this location on Wednesday, the 7th of May, targeting what it calls terrorist infrastructure. Thankfully, our ambassadors are communicating responding responsibly and maturely to Washington DC and London. What it shows the world, what it shows us, what it shows everybody is that Pakistan has again decided to stand with terrorists rather than take action against them. They are essentially lending them support. We wouldn't be surprised if they are themselves involved in this. For example, Vinay Kamatra represents India's side on CNN. At 12 p.m., the BCCI announced that IPL is suspended. The IPL has been suspended due to security reasons. At 5:30 p.m., India's foreign officer spokesperson appears in front of the cameras. He says that the Indian airstrikes deliberately targeted civilians. Women and children died in the strike. He also says that the Indian airstrikes targeted the Neelam Jhelum hydroelectric project, which is against international conventions. After this briefing, the Ministry of External Affairs conducts its own briefing. Colonel Sofia Qureshi explains how Pakistan used Turkish-made Songar drones for the attack. A forensic study is being carried out on the drone's debris. Initial reports show that they are Turkish-made Asisguard Songar drones. They were launched at 36 locations. It was coordinated air assault. Vyomika Singh says that while Pakistan was attacking with its drones, it kept its civilian airspace open. Pakistan's irresponsible behavior again came to fore. Pakistan did not close its civilian airspace despite it launching a failed unprovoked drone and missile attack on 7th May at 8:30 p.m. So that if India responds to Pakistan's drone attack, civilians can also be killed. In this briefing, it is said that India is not like Pakistan. which will attack religious places. I want to make it clear that India is a secular nation and our army is a beautiful example of India's constitutional values. Meanwhile, several kilometers away, a security drill is taking place in Tamil Nadu's Kudankulam nuclear power plant. The message is very clear. India's most sensitive assets have been placed on high alert. 2 hours after this briefing, as soon as night falls, blasts are heard in Jammu. Not only in Jammu but also in Samba, Firozpur, Pathankot and Srinagar, where India uses counter drone systems to protect its civilians. Pakistan's defense minister says that madrasa students are available for the Pakistani army. As far as madrasa students are concerned, there is no doubt that they are our second defense line. The young people who study there can be used 100% for defense or other needs. The next day, the fight shifts from Jammu and Kashmir to the IMF's Washington DC headquarters. A discussion is being held about whether the IMF will grant Pakistan a $1.3 billion loan or not. India wants that the money will be used to fund Pakistan's terrorism. India abstains during the voting so that Pakistan doesn't get the loan. But unfortunately, Pakistan does get the loan. Nigel Clark, the deputy managing director of the IMF, says that Pakistan has made progress in microeconomic stability, which is why it is approving the loan. Then a photo taken in Pakistan goes viral. The picture is from someone's funeral. We don't know whose funeral it is, but this man is the UN designated terrorist Hafiz Abdul Rauf. He is the brother of Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar. He is accompanied by Pakistan's Lieutenant General Fayaz Hussain Shah, Major General Rao Imran Sartaj, Brigadier Muhammad Sabir, Malik Sohaib Ahmad Bas, and Dr. Usman Anwar. This person here is sanctioned terrorist under the American sanctions regime. His name is Hafiz Abdul Rauf. He is the brother of the founder of terrorist group that you are mentioning. Look who is behind him. Pakistani military. The next day at 3 a.m. India attacks several air bases in Pakistan. Noor Khan in Rawalpindi, Murid in Chakwai, and Rafiki in Jung. Noor Khan Air Base is major operation hub in Pakistan, where aviation cadets receive training. Murid Air Base is a strategic site for Pakistan's combat drones. Rafiki Air Base is a 10,000-foot runway, which is an important emergency landing site. If you notice, the escalation ladder is very predictable. On 8th May, Pakistan attempted to attack Pathankot Air Base. In response, India attacked these air bases. 2 hours after the attack, a news report was published on Pakistan's government news channel. The Pak army has launched Operation Bunyan ul Marsus against the Indian army. Pakistani drones and missiles targeted several locations in India's western front. I saw a bright red flash here, and then there was a blast. The flash was very bright. My heart began to pound, and I almost blacked out. India's air defense system is activated. After that, the Indian Army says that these drones are being destroyed by our system. Meanwhile, the bombings at the LOC are ongoing, and we face consequences. A cell lands in Rajkumar Thapa's house in Rajouri. Thapa is Rajouri's additional district development commissioner. At 7 a.m., we hear that Rajkumar Thapa has passed away. An hour later, reports emerged that Pakistan's Noor Khan Air Base has been severely damaged. Dr. Nityanandam, the head of Taxila Institute's Geospatial Research Program, confirms this. At 11 a.m. there is another press conference. Pakistani claims about the activities that they have undertaken continue to be heavy on lies, misinformation and propaganda. Wing Commander Vyomika Singh says that Pakistan has attempted to target civilian infrastructures in a deplorable, cowardly act. Targeting to civilian infrastructure also had taken place where Pakistani attacked the Medicare Center and a school premises at the air bases of Srinagar, Avantipur and Udhampur, yet again displaying irresponsible targeting of our civilian infrastructure. And in this drone attack, the Indian soldier Surendra Singh Moga was martyred. The counter to counter Pakistan's propaganda, time-stamped photos of Indian air bases were shown to prove that our air bases are undamaged. But this briefing ends at a very tense moment when Wing Commander Vyomika Singh says that Pakistani troops are advancing. Pak military has been observed to be moving their troops into forward areas, indicating offensive intent to further escalate the situation. In the afternoon, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio talked to Prime Minister. In the afternoon, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio talked to Minister Jaishankar again. He also calls Pakistani Air Chief General Asim Munir at 1 p.m. PM Modi holds a high-level security meeting at his home at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg. After this, there is a big news when Pakistan's Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar says that Pakistan won't escalate if India doesn't escalate as well. 2 hours later, at 3:35 p.m., a secure military line, which is built between India and Pakistan's Director General of Military Operations, rings. A little later, Vikram Misri announces that both countries have decided that no military action will be taken after 5 p.m. Pakistan's foreign minister confirms this. And who gets the credit for this? President Donald Trump. He writes that due to common sense of both the countries, an immediate ceasefire has been declared. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar posts a balanced tweet that both countries have decided to stop firing and military action, but India will continue to raise the voice against terrorism. While Pakistan's PM Shahbaz Sharif begins to celebrate, this is the victory of the entire Pakistani nation along with the success of Afghanistan. 24 crore people have showered flowers to love on their lions and lions. The Indian government announces a ceasefire, but they also put a condition that when a terror attack happens next time, it will be considered as an act of war. That is, after the next terrorist attack, Pakistan should expect a military action. This is being done so that Pakistan's deterrence costs increase. A few hours later, CNN published this article. Vice President Vance stepped in and called PM Modi after receiving alarming intelligence. What could be this alarming intelligence? Is China trying to attack India? Or is Pakistan trying to use the nuclear weapons?